week's episode of One Piece, Rosinante has his final confrontation with his cruel and twisted brother, Doflamingo, as well as his equally disturbing and demented family. This week's episode of One Piece might have been one of the most emotional episodes of the Dressrosa arc. This was a fantastic end to a very tragic backstory in the series, and honestly I think one of the most tear-jerking moments of the entire Dressrosa arc, and that's saying a lot because we have seen multiple massacres and complete annihilations of the Dressrosa kingdom, yet this story right here just really gripped me. Not only was it the amazing action sequences, the amazing confrontation between Doflamingo and his brother Rosinante, but just the fact that Law was right there the entire time, right next to Rosinante as he was being executed, and there was nothing he could do. He didn't have the power, he couldn't speak out loud, and all he could do was try and survive, all because of Rosinante. This week's episode was freaking-tacular. Before I talk about the death of Rosinante, I just want to talk about some cool details in this week's episode. First, we have the character of Drake, who is a member of the 11 Supernovas, and this is the guy that can transform into a motherfucking T-Rex. That's right, my friends. I cannot wait to see the return of this character, and he does have a cameo in this week's episode, as he did in the previous episodes. He's actually the son of Diaz Barrels, and he actually just manages to barely escape from Doflamingo's cage. It's actually amazing how demented Doflamingo is in this episode, not just the execution of Diaz Barrels, but then we get the full backstory of how he killed his father, and it's just so messed up. The actual setting of it, they're in a trash heap. You have Rosinante, who's just crying and clinging to his father, as Doflamingo is just constantly yelling at him, and even after his father apologizes to him about everything that's happened for being a bad father, as Doflamingo would consider, Doflamingo just shoots him right there and kills him. It is freaking messed up, and it's not going to be the first member of his family that he's going to execute. And then, of course, this leads us to Rosinante, who is basically just trashed by the entire Doflamingo family. They run a train over this guy, and this is honestly a pretty badass action sequence, but it's also just disturbing and sad at the same time, because you want to see Rosinante survive. You want to see him get out of this situation and save Law, but it's not going to go that smooth. And we get to see a lot of the members of the family doing a lot of cool things. I especially loved getting to see Diamante and Treble in action, especially when they slammed him up against the wall when Pika suddenly merged with it and grabbed him from behind, completely crushing him. Then he throws him right back at Diamante, who manages to use his flag abilities to create this giant red bat and just slams right into him. It is so freaking brutal. What can I say about Doflamingo? This guy just bleeds evil. I mean, he's even wearing a red suit. The guy literally looks like the devil, aside from the whole pink boa thing. But again, that's just Doflamingo's style. But what's most disturbing about Doflamingo is that when he does confront his brother pours out his soul to him. He lets him know that he's a Marine and that he's been trying to stop Doflamingo and his family from doing something even more crazier than they've already done. And all Doflamingo wants to know is where is Law and where is the Op fruit. He doesn't give a crap about what his brother is trying to say to him, and that is so freaking disturbing to me. This is all followed by what is honestly, I think, the best part of the episode, which is the execution scene, where they both draw guns to each other, and then without even hesitating, Doflamingo begins to fire at his brother continuously as Law is stuck in this treasure box right behind him, covered by his silence fruit abilities, and this allows him to not even cry out for his friend. It is so freaking sad. And it's made even more sad because the reason he's actually hiding him in a treasure chest is because pirates just cannot help themselves. If they see treasure, they have got to take it. And that's exactly what the Doflamingo family does. They pick up the treasure box, they try to bring it to their ship, and Law is inside. And this brings us to what I honestly believe is the most saddest part of the episode. And it just really shows how, in his final moments, Rosinante genuinely cared about Law and his well-being. He doesn't even care about the fact that he's dying or that his brother just killed him. He's not even remembering his family. The only thing on his mind is trying to stay alive long enough so that Law can survive, because he's still using his silent fruit on him, and that's going to give him a chance to escape. And the scene here is just heartbreaking. Law, walking into the snow. You can't hear him crying, but he is clearly freaking out and cannot get over the death of his best friend, Rosinante. And then suddenly, as Rosinante dies, his silent fruit abilities go away, and he suddenly cries, and then you see the other Navy ships coming in, blowing away at Doflamingo's ship. They can't hear his screams over the explosions, and they decide to escape, as the episode ends with Law crying his eyes out to the to-be-continued screen. Holy crap, that was emotionally draining. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of One Piece? This was just an insanely well done episode, and if there's one thing that One Piece can do, I think better than just about any other big shonen series, is if they can really tug at your heartstrings. They really know how to draw out the man tears in their viewers. Now, this, of course, would not be the first time that we had a very heavy-handed flashback which featured the deaths of some very major characters, which would have some repercussions on the ones that are actually in the major story at the moment, but still, this one was handled really freaking well. And it was also just a lightning-paced episode. At least that's the way it felt to me. This was one of those episodes that felt like 5 minutes. That's how good it was. And I just loved every little detail. You know, the look of the birdcage in the snowy mountain looks so freaking creepy. The Doflamingo family teaming up on Rosinante was brutal, ridiculous, and over the top. I mean, they just completely destroy this guy. Hell, Gladius kicks him like over 30 times after he's been repeatedly beaten and crushed by Pika's arms. And then, of course, freaking Doflamingo. This guy is such an amazing villain. I really wish he would have kept the red suit. It looks really awesome on his character, but the way he just systematically killed his brother without even really thinking about it too much and just caring about the Op fruit and Law is just so messed up. And even Rosinante just saying that Law is not even going to go along with you anymore, he's going to betray you, it's not going to work out. The whole scene is just a really heartbreaking finale to these two brothers, and it was handled really freaking well. Just the whole episode was great. That's really all I have to say. You know, animation, artwork, music, the voice acting especially was really good, especially on Trafalgar Law's part. All the members of the Don Quixote family were great this week. The way they actually work together is amazing. They really do, like, have a really great dynamic with how their powers can sort of play off of each other, despite the fact that it is very disturbing how they were just basically just wailing on Rosinante this week. But damn, it was handled well. So, I loved this episode a lot. I can only recommend it to all One Piece fans. You know, if you're reading manga, watching the anime, you gotta see this one. I think it was handled really well, and it definitely did justice to the manga version. And now that the backstories are done, we're getting back to the Dressrosa arc. That's right, we have some more big battles to get to, and they're just going to get even more exciting. You know, we're all looking forward to, of course, Luffy and Doflamingo, Bellamy, and Law, but there's also going to be those other characters that we haven't gotten back to. We still have Zoro versus Pico. We still have Senor Pink versus Frankie. We still even have a few other little surprises, so we have got to stay tuned. Things are going to get crazy. But this week's episode right here was an emotional roller coaster of badassery, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. It was a great conclusion to the flashback of Law and Rosinante, and it really expanded on the character of Doflamingo and his family, which is a great companion piece to the rest of the Dressrosa arc. Check it out, One Piece fans! It was awesome! Thank you guys for watching my review. Make sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. And you guys should also check out our weekly podcast show, The Powerful Nerdcast. It's pretty freaking awesome. Make sure to check that out on our channel and at iTunes and Rogue Intel. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!